Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the e-commerce expander secrets, and I'm very excited to have a partner, associate, part of the alliance with us today in Jana. So Jana, welcome.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem at all. So Jana, before we get into the thick of things, why don't you give a little introduction about who you are, and what you do. Don't get into too much detail about what you do, because we're going to dig that out over the next hour or so, or 40 minutes, whatever. And we'll go from there. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jana, and I'm the owner of YLT Translations. Shortly said, we help sellers expand to international marketplaces. We cover basically everything on the global marketplaces out there. And me and my team are very passionate about e-commerce in general.
Fantastic. So one question I've always wanted to ask is YLT. Where does YLT come from?
That's a good question. So first of all, it was actually short for something else. It was short for Jana Linguist Team, because I first started this agency as like a e-commerce thing, like that we could like handle all e-commerce translations, and then we decided to niche down, and now it stands for Your Listing Translation.
Nice, nice. Because I love the logo. It's just simple, easy, and bright and fun, isn't it? Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the colors, and actually every color has a certain meaning, and I just really like it. It's very simple. It's not too much like flashing or like too many letters. So yeah, we're definitely keeping the logo. We are rebranding our website, so it's more clear that it says Your Listing Translations, what it means, but we're definitely keeping the logo.
Yeah, nice. Okay, all right. Let's start off. So just give us a little bit about where you're actually based, Jana, because I'm not sure we've picked that piece up yet.
Yeah, so I'm based in Belgrade in Serbia. YLT is a US-based company, but I happen to be born and raised in Serbia, so this is where my base is. But I spent a lot of time in the States.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, all right. So let's start a bit of background, if that's all right. So
yeah,
we've met
sure.
Jana. Let's go back 5 years when you left school, college, or university. Did you do university or college, or what did that look like for you?
Yes, this was not 5 years ago. It was like 15 years ago, Andy.
No, 5 years.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're fresh and young.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's extra points for you there. So yeah, so it was a long time ago. I went to university. I actually studied languages. I speak 5 languages. And I really was into like music. I also went to music conservatory. I played the piano for 15 years. I was a professional pianist performer. I played like competitions. I had like concerts. But languages has always been my passion, and so I decided to drop music and like pursue my language passion, and that's why I enrolled in the university, studied literature and languages, got my bachelor's and master's. And by studying actually Scandinavian languages, so I speak Norwegian and Danish, among other languages I speak, they got me into my first official job at the university in this Danish startup. And then at that point, there was like 4 of us, and I was actually working as a call center representative. It was a low entry job, but it was an amazing salary, because we would sit in Belgrade and we would pretend as we were like sitting in Copenhagen. And that e-commerce, like that, small startup, they had like a website and they were selling cell phone equipment. So my fake name was Heidi Larson, and I would pretend to be like, hello, I'm Danish, and how can I help you with your order? That was like basically my first job ever. And I kind of liked it because
Heidi as well now.
I'm sorry?
We get to call you Heidi as well now.
Heidi, yes. I handpicked that name myself. I don't know why, but I was like, Heidi, that's gonna be me. And like Larson, I don't know. I just kind of really liked it. And then I actually stayed at that company as it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I kind of I went up the ladder, and I kind of got to keep my name after I become like a project manager or something. I was back to being Jana again, not to being Heidi as like a reward, and actually that company grew to be one of the biggest e-commerces at that time. This is like 12 years ago we're talking about. They had like over 100,000 products. They were opening physical stores, and at the end, they employed more than 400 employees in 5 different countries. So it was amazing. I learned so many things in that company. I grew to be their COO at one point, and then later I trained that to be on the business development side, because I was really getting into that. They would fly me around Europe to open the branches, the company branches. This is also when I first got into Amazon. I got really interested in that. It was like just a side project at that point. And they were just like, here's like play around with the account, see what you can do. We want to do like expansion and stuff. And this is when I first saw the potential of like not having like Google Translate, translations. I started hiring regular people to do that. At that point, there were like no specific tools for Amazon. We just used kind of keyword planner for Google AdWords, and that was it. But that started kind of showing some results, and it was kind of really interesting to see how it goes. Especially, that was like the first time when I heard like buy box, like 11 years ago. And it was really, really interesting. And the company was very innovative on a lot of areas. And it was really amazing. And I can build your business from scratch. Like if you want to, any sort of platforms. I've learned so much, and it was such an amazing ride. And that's how e-commerce grew to be my second passion, apart from languages. And then 8
on
years.
That, Jana, on that, sorry. So, what 5 languages do you speak? I got Danish and Norwegian, I think.
Yeah, Danish, Norwegian. I got German, French, English, and Serbian is my native.
Wow. Yeah. Hats off to you. That's epic. Congrats to you. That's amazing. 5 or 6 languages. 6 languages there. You miscounted, I reckon.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't count Serbian. I'm like speaking like 5 foreign languages. That's what I meant. I wasn't that specific. Yeah.
I think you was underselling yourself there. It's definitely 6 languages in my book, whatever way you look at it. Okay, so that was great. So on that, we all start businesses, and we all have this vision that we want to scale and grow our business and everything else. Before we move on from that company, what do you think the secret was to that company's scale and growth and pace of growth to get to that number?
So this company was a privately held company, and our boss had he was somehow like one step ahead of his competitors. He would always try out new things. He was always the first one to implement some method he read about, or he saw, or like he attended a mastermind or something on the matter. So he was always like out and about, like looking for new strategies and new ideas and like implementing new things. So I think this is like one of the first things that kind of get him like the slight edge when it compared to his other competitors. That one for sure. And the second one is that because he was outsourcing a lot of his team, so he was saving a lot of money by hiring people in Serbia and Poland. He also had his stock relocated from Denmark to Poland, and it was in a quite good location. It was in the city called Szczecin, which is really close to the German border. Like that stock is like just an hour away from Berlin. So it's like this perfect like location to ship like things everywhere. And the workforce was really cheap. So he was saving a lot of money on that. And he was actually one of the first people, as I said, like he implemented a lot of new things, that he got an idea to outsource first the call center, and then complete C-level management was outsourced from Denmark. And then of course we went to Denmark to work, and I also like lived and worked in Denmark. But like the first stages of the company were like that everything was kind of outsourced. And this is what like half of the world is like doing right now, but he was doing that like 15 years ago, but not many people were doing that. So that's like one of the advantages that he had, which really, proved to be very, very valuable at that time.
Yeah, I think there's some great things in there, isn't there? Because I think that
absolutely,
we all want to scale and grow our businesses, and we're all fighting all these different things the whole way through, aren't we? Well, if I do this, what does that happen? If I do this, well, how does that happen? What happens if? What happens if? And I think some of those things you've just mentioned there are absolutely critical. I love
what I also see a lot is that sellers and service providers, they can grow their teams till like, I don't know, like, let's say 20 members or like 15 members, and that's where they stop. They cannot scale above this level. And I see that like the whole time. And the thing is, like, you have to go through that barrier because they're afraid of letting too many people in their team. And this is where a lot of people just gonna stop. They don't grow and they don't reach their full potential. So I see that the whole time. And the whole, the main deal for you is to just gonna go through that barrier and hire more and more people, and not like to build 10 different businesses with like up to 20 people. That doesn't get you anywhere. What gets you somewhere is like one business, huge, like you scale your team, and this is where you like go into the winning strategy. Honestly, this is also what I did for my company. Like now we have 80 people, and I see a lot of people who are so afraid to scale, and I see that all the time. And I'll be talking about that in this conference in San Diego, like how people can manage to scale their teams beyond their beliefs, honestly, just by implementing some of like really cool strategies that I've learned working in this company, and after that, like working with my own company. I think that's like a bottleneck for a lot of people and preventing them to earn big money from their business.
I totally agree. You're right. You see that in e-commerce quite a lot. I mean, outsourcing is quite popular in, certainly for e-commerce sellers. Outsourcing things to places like the Philippines is quite common. You hear people speak to my VA in the Philippines or wherever it might be. Is relatively common to a degree now, but I guess as you say, 5 or 10 years ago that definitely wasn't. So a bit of a trailblazer there. I also love the idea where you said there about you seeking the strategy, going out to events, masterminds, speaking to people, finding out what's happening. Actually, that's a really key piece, isn't it? How you keep up to date, especially with e-commerce where it's moving so fast, but actually the other opportunities that sit on the fringes of that, because that's actually where it's not the meat in the middle that makes a difference, is it? It's the meat on the fringes where people aren't implementing it yet.
People are leaving a lot of money on the table, literally like so much money left on the table. And just have to comment on the Philippines, like the Filipino VAs and stuff like that. I really think that this is, I understand it's like, it's cost effective. It doesn't, cost you a lot. But a lot of jobs, you cannot like outsource them to the Filipinos because it's a different culture, it's a different mindset, and there are not just many jobs that the Philippines can do that you will be happy with. I don't want to sound like patronizing or something, but there are some certain like level jobs that are not a good fit for the Philippines or for any other country that comes from a completely different culture that you can outsource to. But nowadays, there are some countries where you can outsource even C-level managements too. And I've seen some like of the big American companies outsourcing their C-level management to, let's say, Serbia or like to the region of like Balkans, because people really, get it. And it's like similar culture, like people are really good at English. And so there's like much more than the Philippines. Like, why do you have to do everything that your competitors are doing? Like, why don't you find something similar to that, but maybe better? This is like the edge I'm talking about.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, wonderful. So I think that was great. So that got you into your e-commerce journey then, didn't it? That whole sort of business got you into your e-commerce. So where did YLT come from? Where was what was the light bulb moment of, hey, I want to do something for myself and this is it? Or did that come over a period of time? What did that look like?
Not exactly. So that was kind of like, that idea was kind of boiling like for a long time. Actually, I wanted to quit my job like a couple of years before I actually, handed over my resignation, but I just didn't have the guts to do it, honestly. So if someone tells you that like being an entrepreneur means you're like a go-getter and you want to change your life overnight, well, I'm not that. I'm definitely not that type of person. I'm just like a regular girl. Like, I'm not even from the States. Not even from like the Western countries, like in Europe. So we're like, I'm from Serbia. I'm like outside of the European Union. I need like visas to travel everywhere. It's like, it's really hard. It's really difficult. And like 80% of the world out there don't even know like what kind of struggles you have when you're not from Western, like, Europe country. So basically I was just wanting to like get better recognition for my work because I was feeling very underappreciated at my job. And so like the tip of the iceberg was like when I was sent to Russia to open this company branch, and I did not get any sorts of like bonuses or anything. I spent almost 2 years there. I built everything from scratch. I just got to thank you. And when I asked for a bonus, my boss gave me 50 euros, which is like 30 pounds. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. And this is like the last, very last thing from like tons of other things that I was really completely unhappy with that kind of pushed me over the edge. And I was like, you know what? This is it. I'm just gonna, quit my job now. And I've been like, thinking about it for the previous 3 years. And I really wanted to start something on my own because I'm like, why should I work for anyone? And then like, and not knowing if I'm gonna get like properly like rewarded for my effort, for my ideas. And I was just really feeling, like overwhelmed with everything. And I was like, you know what, this is just like, I think I would have like zero respect for myself if I stay like in this company. So I decided to quit my job. And I was like, at that point, I was also like teaching Norwegian on the side to corporate clients, like to Statoil, Lukoil, like all these like big oil magnates in Norway, to all their like C-level management and their CEOs. And I was having like good money out of it. And I'm like, okay, so between like when I quit my job, until I figure out how I'm gonna start something on my own, I'm gonna like teach like Norwegian to corporate clients, and then we'll take it from there. So that lasted for a couple of months, and then I bought the domain name YLT Translations, and I was like, let's just do what I do. Like, I know e-commerce a lot, and I know about like, translations and stuff, and the keyword research, and like SEMrush and all these other tools, and let's start something like that. So I asked a couple of people that worked for me in my previous company that I know that were not happy if they would like to come and like work on like when I have like some projects. So I got like 3-4 people on board. I don't think they really kind of believed in my idea, nobody from my surroundings believed in my idea, because as I said, like when you come from Serbia, it's a country where basically where you want to like where you get hired the first place, this is where you end like your like you work there till you go to retirement. This is the mindset of people. And then my parents were very upset when I quit my job because it was a very highly paid job. And they just didn't understand why I did not want to work there, even though I was very miserable. So they were like, but you have a highly paid job. What else do you want in this life, And I was like, I want something else. And they were really upset. I know my mom cried. She was very disappointed with me. All my friends were like, well, maybe this is just a phase. She'll get back to 9 to 5 office job and stuff like that. Yeah. But I really didn't want to do that. Like, and during those couple of months that were very, I was really like desperate because I was sitting at home in my pajamas, and I'm like used to like wearing like a power suit, like, and like high heels and makeup and like meetings all day. And then fast forward to like that point, I was like sitting at home in my pajamas, and like working from home was not a popular term at that point. And I was pretty depressed. And I know that like a couple of days would pass and I was still sitting in my pajamas and I didn't know what else to do. I thought I was like going to go crazy because I was living by myself. It was just a really tough time for me. And, but then like a couple of months later, I think I quit my job in September. So somewhere like around February, I came around and I was like, look, like whatever you're doing, just gonna stop and like pull your stuff together and just gonna, like, and then I was like, okay, let's go back to this domain. Then I called some friends, like when you start your business, I don't like working with friends now, but when you start your business, you gotta call your friends. I mean, who's gonna help you out? You don't have any money to pay anybody else. So I kind of, hired a friend, an acquaintance that, told me like, I can take care of your website. I told him I was going to pay him a little bit now, a little bit later, like we'll just, kind of manage the payments like on a friendly basis, whatever. And a lot of, people came out and helped me, and I was like, okay, this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. And then I was like, okay, so now what, and then like, I know the strategies like for marketing and everything. I didn't have a lot of money to invest, but I started like doing Google ads. It didn't work. I just started like checking what else I could do. It was like really, it's horrible when you're like starting something, you don't know what you're doing, because no matter how long I worked in this corporate company and I was boss to a lot of people, different departments, it's completely different when you work for yourself. It's like none of those matter. Like I know everything in theory, but like how do you get actually started? How do I? Yes, so such a big difference. How do you hire people? I'm like, how can I tell them like this is the rate for this project? And I'm like, thank you so much for. I cannot be like that, you know. And I had a big authority back in my corporate job, but I had like zero authority for myself and for my business. So that was very devastating for me, honestly. It took me a while to kind of understand that I have to change who I am and just start like taking initiative and like the authority and just because that's just how things should work.
It takes a
And
bit of time to understand that in yourself, and you're piecing lots of different things together at this time, aren't you? You know, you're piecing together,
yes,
setting up a business. Where do I find the business? I've left a job. My mum's not happy, disappointed. I've got this. All of these things are sort of compounding on you, and then you start thinking, well, maybe I have made a mistake, but no, I believe in what I'm going to do, and off I go.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I thought that after some times, because we were not getting any clients, we would get some like random requests about like some like minor texts and stuff like that, and I was like, well, at this point I'm making like $50 like a month from this business, and I'm pretty sure I could do much more, but I don't know how to do it. And then little by little, I started going into these Facebook groups with translators and stuff, and I was like, well, why don't I like focus a little bit more like on Amazon, because it doesn't seem to have that many. I don't seem to have that many competitors in that area, and I really know Amazon. I know how this works when it compared to just like regular translation agencies, all of which who've been there for like 30 years. They have like ISO 9001 standards. There was like a lot to be done, and I could never be competitive with like this like ginormous like agency that's been there for like 30 plus years. That's like something that hasn't been easy for me, and I'm like, maybe I should kind of niche down and find something better like in this domain, but kind of niche down. And so I added like Amazon translations on the website as well. So at that point we had like tons of like different translations, all e-commerce related. So we're not doing like legal and medical translations, but basically everything you need for your website and all of the other things that you need, contracts and so on. And I added Amazon translations, and then people started contacting us, being like, well, we would like to do some Amazon translations, like, but are you like, Amazon experts or like what? And at that point, I realized that on our website, we have like so many other things that, of course, people are not sure what's our strongest point. And at that point, I decided that I'm going to change the website. I'm going to migrate everything there was on the website to YLTtranslations.net. And I made YLTtranslations.com only Amazon translations only, like a dedicated website. Since the com website was already like being indexed, and I'm like, I'm not gonna, like blow this away and just gonna buy a new domain. I'm just gonna use this and just gonna, make it like an Amazon website, completely like a, dominating website. And that's when things started changing a little bit, and people like would reach out and be like, oh, so you are specialized in Amazon. This is really interesting, blah, blah. And we would get like, I think December 2018, I remember we got like the first like official, I call it like official request because it was like 2 products for 4 different marketplaces. Back then it was like 4 only. And I was like, her name was Katie. And I remember I was like, this is it. We're making millions. I'm like, this is working. So that was my first ever request. And I was like, literally like over the moon.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started joining like different Facebook groups like that had like word Amazon in it. And I started promoting our business. I started like replying questions people had about international expansion. And this is how we actually got our first clients, like through Facebook groups. And then after that, I was just like reading about, like the conferences, blogs, getting featured on this, on that podcast. And I was just wondering like, how the hell do people land here? Like, because I remember sending like tons of emails and I would not get a reply, or they'd be like, who are you? What do you do? And, it was like really like a big hit on my ego. Because also like, unfortunately, coming from Serbia, like people like here, they gonna teach you that if somebody says no to you, you're just gonna, you like feel very embarrassed for yourself and you go away, and you never come back. But luckily, like what I learned while I was being in the States is that like when you knock on one door, they close it, you come and knock again, and you knock until they open it, and they tell you, okay, like you're very persistent, let's see what you got. And this was my I just decided I'm gonna forget about the whole like ego problem, and I'm just going to be like just you try to do whatever I can. And I like it was kind of easier for me because it was in written form, so it's not like a verbal confrontation, you know.
Yeah.
So this was like a written form, so I could pretend that this was not even me, you know. It was like sending the email. And then I remember I reached out, the first person I reached out to try to get like a video or like a feature or something was Augustus from Orange Click.
Yes.
And now a very good friend of mine, and he said no to me 4 times. He was like, he would have a meeting with me, but he would be like, YTL, what is this, you know?
Yeah, Jana, that piece is interesting. What we found, I don't know whether you found this when we first started, we were doing the same. We'd be knocking on everyone's door, and everyone was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure, these new kids on the block type thing.
Yes.
And then what's happened now is, yeah, we're still looking for partnerships and talking to people, but actually people approach us now rather than us having to do a lot of the work.
Yes, absolutely.
People see the sort of, they see what you're doing. They're like, ah, okay. And they, you know, have you found that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, like after like knocking on Augustus' door for 4 times, and getting no, at the end he was like, okay, let's do a video. Let's do like a 5 minutes video and like whatever. And so I was like, yes, like this is my big break. So we did like a 5 minutes video, and we got like tons of clients only from that video, this little short video, because nobody actually kind of approached translations and was not presenting them in a way that I had in that video, because I was like, this is my only shot. I better do my very best, because I really was so passionate about it, and I was like really determined that this is going to work. And it worked. We got like first clients from there, and then after that, Gustas invited me to my first ever conference in Prague. That was my ever first like live conference. I was just like super scared, and you know, like I said, like I used to play the piano, and I'm a performer on stage. I didn't have much of stage fright, but this was something new. This was like my new business, who maybe I did not even believe in enough, and I'm supposed to present this to people and expect them to believe in me, you know. And that was really challenging for me, but luckily this ended up like really nicely. And after that, I think like 2019, I did like 13 conferences worldwide. At first I would reach out to people, and then like now, like this year, like I'm paid to talk. Like I'm speaking at Prosper, I'm speaking at like all of these like great like San Diego Geek Out event. Like I speak like literally, I would like, if you know pandemic was not on, I think like last year 2020 no 2019 and 2020, like I was booked like literally like every month I would fly to a different country or like to a different conference. And it's just unbelievable how many opportunities you can have and how many doors you can open. And the biggest deal for me was after this Prague conference in 2019, there were some partners of my ex-boss. I mean, me and my ex-boss, we did not end our things on good terms. That's all I'm gonna say. He was very upset about me leaving. He like really, it was it was not nice. But then, and I was also like very, bitter about the whole thing. But what happened, like after my Prague conference and my talk, some of the partners that work with my ex-boss, they invited me to one of the biggest Danish e-commerce events in Copenhagen. And I went there. It's like in front of the Danish Chamber of E-commerce, and I gave presentation in Danish. And my boss was not there, but I'm pretty sure like all of his partners were there. So I kind of made sure that they say hello to him. So that was kind of my personal victory of like
Brilliant.
everything I've done so far. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that little story. That's amazing. So what's, with sort of translations, what sort of things people need to be aware of right now? What are the things that are perhaps changing? What are the things, how's the landscape moving so that people need to make sure they're fully either I'm compliant from in the back of my head, but also maximizing the opportunities for new sales and things like that? What are the key things?
Well, one of the key things is you have to just, keep an eye on the new marketplaces. I think Amazon is gonna go out pushing them like now more than ever. The newest marketplace to roll out is Turkey. And a lot of people have been really interested for this marketplace. So we'll see how that goes. There's definitely a lot of opportunity over there. And what's very interesting for the Turkish marketplace is that people buy more from their tablets and PCs other than from their cell phones. Which is kind of interesting because, you always have to pay attention to the cell phone, like a version of the, like how your listing looks like, but like people love like PC and tablets to buy from there. And also what I think is really important is that there are a lot of restrictions in the US that don't apply in Europe. But Europe has been pretty, restricted when it comes to certain terms. Like some of the words that we've came across that have been like trademarked that not even sellers knew about are just, crazy. Like they were like what was it? It was the scorch or the storch. I don't know. They like a tape. They use the name for it like in Italian as well, like an English name. That was marked as a trademark, for instance. Or Italian word for mop, mochi, I think, was also trademarked. But the whole category in Amazon is called mochi, like in plural, like mops in plural. So who would have known about that? So there are a lot of things that really you see a lot of your competitors are using, and then all of a sudden there are a lot of things that are completely banned, and they're like not allowed for you to use. And of course, especially when it comes to the products, when mentioning like bacteria and all the other health issues and stuff, like they're all not allowed to be used, as well as in Europe. But what's still allowed in Europe, for instance, are caps lock and bullets. That's really interesting. And also HTML, which is getting canceled in June in the UK, is still going to be available throughout European marketplaces. I haven't had any information that it's going to get canceled in Europe. It probably will, but it's probably going to be like at a later date. So, European marketplaces are always good because everything that's going to apply them comes way later than when it like UK or the US, of course. So that's interesting. Yeah. And what I would also definitely recommend for European marketplaces and brands is that they should definitely pay attention to TikTok using their international strategies, because ads are available. I also had a really cool presentation about that on Ad World. They have like tons of like ads like rolling out right now. But what's very, very interesting is that the audience is actually your target audience is between like 18 and 35 years old. So it's a common misconception that TikTok is only used for kids, like 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds, when it's actually used like with much older category. And also what's very important is that beauty and cosmetics take 65% of the products that are being sold on TikTok. So if your target audience is something that's using like beauty and products and is like anywhere between 18 and 35, you should definitely go for TikTok. And definitely what's interesting is that TikTok audience has money to spend. They have more money than the audience on Facebook and in YouTube, and your whole video takes full of their attention and focus because there are no other distractions. And the study showed that 73% of the users watch the whole video. So that's very, very important. And it's very interesting as well to mention that TikTok audience is pretty unique. So you don't get it on Facebook. These are not people on Facebook. These are not people on YouTube. It's a completely new audience. So you would get like 30% of new people just from like TikTok only. What I would not recommend for TikTok is like international sense is that you don't use like products for older generation or mostly for men, because most of TikTok population, at least in Europe, are females. I think close to 70% of the audience are females.
Okay, well, that's really, really interesting. I didn't realize it was going up sort of that age bracket either. I think that's really, really useful. So with e-commerce, what sort of trends are you seeing at the moment? What are the sort of key things where you're thinking, there's a little trend coming here? What do you think might be happening towards the end of the year leading into Q4?
I think that the eco-friendly products are definitely going to be like more and more popular. Like for instance, like wooden toys in Germany, like that category is like literally like going through the roof, and not like plastic, not anything else. And it's interesting to say that wooden toys are selling better than they are in the States, in Germany, for instance. So if you have like wooden toys, you should definitely, like totally get into that category, like in Germany, and before your competitors find out about it. And also like a lot of electronics or like home beauty products and stuff like that are really like still interesting, especially in Europe, because unfortunately Europe is still like closed. It's pandemic time still. So I think that all of the products that have been like popular, like anything you can like work from like at home, as like like people cannot go to and get their nails done in a beauty salon, or the hair done, or anything when it comes to like beauty. I think that people would still be doing good in those categories until the measurements are lifted, and then we're gonna go to like travel accessories, travel equipment, outdoor stuff. But for now, I still think the categories are gonna be still into the DIY garden tools and stuff like that. This is what has been trending for the last year and a half. A lot of people thought that this is going to change, now, but it's still, very, very ungrateful to predict what's going to happen, because I just read today that the restrictions in the UK are going to be prolonged after June 21st because of like new cases and so on. So I think that as long as the pandemic is still. Yes, exactly. So I think that as long as the pandemic is still with us, it's still going to be the same product categories that have been popular till now. So what do you think, Andy? What's going to happen like with the categories and products?
Yeah, I think the shift to online buying has definitely changed. I think that people, let's take garden stuff, exactly as you said. They go in the UK, they go down to their local nursery, garden centre, they buy stuff. And quite a lot of those places are just not very friendly and exciting. So I think that what people are doing now is they're buying that stuff online, and they can buy it on a Thursday because the weather looks nice, and they think, well, it'll be delivered tomorrow morning. So on Saturday morning, instead of faffing around going to the garden centre and buying stuff, I can just get straight on with it. Which people realise they haven't got to go to these places, and they realise that the service they get is so much more quick and effective. So here in the UK, we've got a technology like TV place called Curry's PC World, and you go in there. It's a massive, massive store where you can buy TVs, computers, all that sort of stuff. The reality is, every time you go in there, because of the pandemic, they've got hardly any stock. And you go in there like, well, we can order that for you. But because they've got a brick and mortar store, it's 20% more expensive straight away. So you just come out there and buy on Amazon and save yourself any time, because it's just more effective. So I see that more people will buy online. And I think that a lot of the European countries, there's a big increase in lots of the European countries that didn't shop online anywhere near as much.
Yes, especially Spain and Italy, they've actually had an increase of 15%, and like the biggest one has the Czech Republic has 18%. They did not even use a lot of credit cards. They spent like they still like use a lot of cash to pay for their product, but definitely like the culture has shifted towards the e-commerce and online buying, and I think that's definitely what's going to be here to stay. And people are just gonna be like, exactly what you said, like, I think I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna buy this and purchase it in like 3 hours. I mean, if you just take, for instance, like an Apple store, like in the States, like if you order items by noon, you can get your new computer delivered in 2 hours, the very same day. That kind of saves your trip going to the store and like waiting in line and talking to, like Matthew, the Apple expert. It's very, very convenient. And I think that people are going to get sort of like spoiled into all this like convenience and like all the convenient shopping.
I totally agree. I think that whole thing is changing, the methodology, lots of parts of Europe, you weren't even online. They couldn't even access it in some ways. But all of a sudden now, because of the pandemic, that rush to get online has become, so much quicker. We're just currently pulling all the stats for what those figures look like across the whole of Europe and where those hot destinations are, because, I think we'll see those outer lying regions really start to pop up come the end of this year. And I think that's really, really powerful for sellers to start boosting their listings and stuff now. And that's why translations are so key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that also Amazon recognized this opportunity, and that's why you're getting emails about Mexico FBA and do Turkey, do this, do that. Amazon even reached out to us because they want to make their translations better. I mean, I was like, wow, is this what's up with this? But they want to offer better translations because not just their machine translations, which give us thankfully a lot of work because they do such a shitty job. But they want to offer localized translations with keywords that make sense for certain categories. Because when you sell on Amazon, and I also agree with this, you don't need to have native translations with keywords and stuff like that for some categories. Like if you're selling a super specific product and you have super short bullets with only text packs about your product, you don't need a native keyword translator to do that for you. You can just put that in Google Translate and they will do enough for you if it's a super short listing. And the restrictions for the category are that it's going to be short. So basically for that, you just need to put some keywords in title and you're good to go. But for other categories that like supplements or beauty products or kids toys, that you have A+ content, you want to convey the message and you really want to click with a client from a different country, you really need someone who's going to understand what you are saying and not just do one-on-one and literal translation. And that's why it's very important. I mean, localization, first of all, is very important. Differences in styles of the marketplaces, Germans are kind of straightforward. US style is salesy and fluffy. French people also kind of hate that sales and fluffy style, So there's a lot of different things that you have to take in consideration when actually, having your listing done on a new marketplace. And you don't want to blow your honeymoon period. Of course, you can restart your honeymoon period, but what you can restart are the reviews. So if you get pretty bad reviews at the beginning, they're going to be there to stay no matter how many times you restart your honeymoon period. And good thing is that there was a glitch with global reviews for a couple of weeks. You could only see the local reviews, but now global reviews are back. So it's all back to normal because people start panicking at one point. Is this Amazon experimenting on this? Because, Amazon is trying out always new things. But it happened to be that this was just a glitch. So it's good that, they kind of took care of that.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, Jana, look, we're coming to an end here. If people want to get in contact with you, they want to get some translations done, what's the best way of getting in touch with you and making that happen?
You can definitely visit our website. It's YLT-translations.com. Or you can like our Facebook page. We constantly have updates like this, being posted on our page. You can like us on LinkedIn, or you can definitely shoot me an email if you need any sort of advice, or if you just want to get a feedback on your listing, which is underperforming. You're maybe wondering what else could be done. You can definitely shoot me an email at Jana, that's JANA, at YLT-translations.com, and I'll be happy to help you out.
Wonderful. Well, Jana, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you very much for your hugely valuable time. It's been great speaking.
Thank you so much for having me.
And hearing so much about your backstory as well. I love some of those bits we talked about there. I thought that was great. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for everyone for listening. This was the e-commerce expander secrets. This was global e-commerce experts successfully expanding e-commerce sellers into Europe. And with that in mind, that is today's podcast done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning in.